Those of us who are in this position have a profound obligation to think about the challenges of this moment and what we have to do to give our kids a better deal. If you ask yourselves, who has the best ideas? Who's got the best instincts? Who's got the best ability to understand these challenges? Who's got the best supporting cast? The answer is Barack Obama, and that's why Hillary's here, that's why I'm here, that's why you're here. Come on up.
Thank you all so much. You know, it is great. It is great being back in Scranton. And I thank my husband. I'm thrilled that he could be here with us. He is on his way to Virginia. But we wanted to be here together with Joe and Jill to make a very simple message abundantly clear. We must elect Barack Obama and Joe Biden on November 4th. So, you know, it's great that Joe has roots here in Scranton, as do I. And we will make sure that those roots and those values are carried into the White House after Joe wins. But isn't it going to be wonderful to have a vice president you're proud of and excited about? It's great being here with Senator Bob Casey and his family, with Congressman Ken Jaworski and his family, and I just want to reiterate what Bill said. We need as many Democrats in the Congress as we can get, and we need to send Paul Ken Jaworski back to the House of Representatives. And I want to thank Mayor Doherty and everybody associated with not only the city and the county and this region. There's a lot of good things happening here in Scranton, and I know that you're going to keep working hard to make sure that this great city, county, and region have as positive a future as you had a storied past. And you can count on me, Chris, to be your partner. Now, as Bill said, I've been crisscrossing the country campaigning for Barack and Joe. Why? Because this election is too important to sit on the sidelines of history. I haven't spent 35 years in the trenches fighting for universal health care, for children, for families, for women, for middle-class people. To see another Republican in the White House squander the promise of our nation and the hopes of our people. Now, we're here today having a great time. Lots of excitement and speeches and applause and rallying, but we are in a financial crisis in America. And it is a crisis born and bred by failed Republican policies championed by George Bush, John McCain, and the Washington Republicans. You know what they have said and done: gut regulations, cut taxes for corporations and billionaires. When you tried to talk about the home mortgage crisis, which I did throughout my campaign, they sort of shrugged and said, "What home mortgage crisis?" For 2 years, I and others have said people are losing their houses. They've been victimized by predatory lending. Families can't pay their mortgage bills, and that this mortgage crisis could mushroom out of control and become a full-blown economic crisis. But to President Bush and John McCain, middle-class families sinking into debt are invisible. We can help Americans losing their houses. But we can only do it by if we make sure the Republicans lose the White House come November. Now, when this crisis finally hit Wall Street and big financial firms came calling, well, suddenly, oh my goodness, President Bush and John McCain and the Republicans, they snapped to attention. A big bank is going to fail? Well, bail it out. A big financial firm is going to fail? Well, bail it out. A big insurance company is going to fail? Why, bail it out. Well, what about the millions of people losing their homes and their jobs every single day? Where's their bailout? You know, as stocks continue to plummet, homeowners fall further and further into default and many face foreclosures. People are afraid to open up their 401k statement, aren't they? Retirees' nest eggs are starting to crack. Businesses can't find credit. Students can't find college loans. The global credit crisis is shaking the foundation of the 21st century economy. And in this election, failure is not an option. We must commit ourselves to making sure we elect leaders who will put people first, remember who built this country, who sacrificed and made us what we are today. That's why this week I'm barnstorming across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and on to other battleground states that we can and must win, because we cannot afford 4 more years of the last 8 years, and that's all the Republicans offer. The Republicans' answer to jobs being outsourced: continue tax incentives to companies that outsource jobs, of course. The Republican answer to a broken health care system: throw everybody to the mercy of insurance companies with no tax incentives for employers to keep providing coverage and to offer real protection to people with pre-existing conditions. The Republicans' answer to rising economic insecurity: John McCain still wants to privatize Social Security. Can you imagine if your Social Security had been in the stock market the last 3 weeks? The Republican answer to 8 years of stagnant wages and 9 straight months of job losses: just more of the same. You know, according to the Republicans, in this new global economy, America can't win unless most Americans lose. It makes absolutely no sense, but that is truly what they believe. That's why they ignored the home mortgage crisis until it became a financial crisis. That's why John McCain has even proposed more tax cuts for the oil companies and the drug companies. That's why John McCain has said repeatedly that the fundamentals of our economy are strong, because to John McCain and George Bush, the middle class isn't fundamental, it's ornamental. They don't understand that we are at the core of whether this country goes up or down. That's why, my friends, sending the Republicans to solve this economic crisis is like sending the bull to clean up the china closet. They broke it, and we're not buying it anymore. Barack Obama and Joe Biden will be leaders who will lead us out of this economic crisis. They will once again clean up this economic mess that Republicans have left behind. Now, in case anybody doubts we can do this, I want you just to think back. By the close of the Clinton administration, America had created 22 million new jobs. Our nation built a new economy with the lowest child poverty rate in 20 years. Wages were rising and prosperity was shared. We produced a balanced budget and a budget surplus. 8 years later, we had to add a digit to the national debt clock. It took a Democratic president to clean up after the last President Bush. It's going to take a Democratic president to clean up after this President Bush. Make no mistake about it. We've done it before and we'll do it again. America will once again rise from the ashes of the Bushes. You know, for 2 years on the campaign trail, in fact, for my entire adult life, I have been fighting for families left out and left behind, for the chance of every child to reach his or her God-given potential. That's why I respect Dr. Jill Biden so much, because she has worked for 27 years to help our young people realize their potential. And I have fought for the people of this country who have felt invisible to their own president, like he just doesn't even see them. And that's who I'm fighting for today. And that's why there is only one choice in this election. Wherever I go around the country campaigning for Barack and Joe, I hear people asking each other, well, who are you for? That's not the right question. More importantly, the question is, who is for you? Just look at what Barack and Joe have proposed, a $1,000 tax cut for hardworking families, covering 95% of Americans who would be eligible. They'll end the tax breaks for oil companies and drug companies and insurance companies and invest millions more in clean energy jobs, manufacturing, and infrastructure instead. And Barack and Joe will fight for health care for all Americans. That is my passion. I'm going to work as hard as I can with President Obama and Vice President Biden. Until we achieve quality, affordable health care for every American. And I am looking forward to being on the back lawn of the White House on a beautiful day like this when President Obama signs into law quality, affordable health care for you and you and you. Barack Obama and Joe Biden are for you, and that's why I'm for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. My friends, this is an all-hands-on-deck moment for America. We've got to work hard and we've got to work together. This is a fight for the future, and it's a fight we must win. It starts right here in Scranton, where my father was raised and where he's buried. You know, my grandfather worked in the Scranton lace mills all of his life, starting when he was 11 years old until he retired at the age of 65. My family spent summers in a cabin on Lake Winola. We went swimming and fishing and played a lot of pinochle. My grandfather built that cabin nearly 100 years ago, and it's still standing. Because here in Scranton, people are built tough. Here in northeastern Pennsylvania, we don't go down without a fight. And I remember how proud my father and his brothers were that they could build a good life with good jobs. Jobs that supported a family, that gave my grandfather, who didn't even finish elementary school, the chance to send 3 sons to college. The people of Scranton and northeastern Pennsylvania are like people I've met across America. The kind of people who get up every single day and work hard. You don't ask for much. You never give up. You soldier on for your families and your communities. And you deserve a president who will get up every day thinking about you. And we are so lucky that by the side of our next president will be a man who really understands, who's been fighting his whole life for what he believes in, the values he was raised with. Joe Biden is a good friend and a great man. Joe's never forgotten where he came from. He's never forgotten how his family had to struggle and his parents even had to move so his dad could find work. He's been a leader on national security, a leader for women, children, and families as the author of the landmark Violence Against Women Act. Joe has been a voice for the hardworking middle class of this country because it's not to him about politics. It's not theoretical or abstract. It's in the gut. I could not ask for a better partner in the Senate, and America could not ask for a better vice president. It really comes down to how much each of us is willing to do in the next 23 days. You know, sure, the polls show Barack and Joe ahead now, and that's good news. But I don't pay much attention to polls. Nobody should be lulled into any false sense of security. You know, Bill was talking about how he and I have been involved in presidential politics since 1968. 10 presidential elections, and Democrats have only won 3 of them. And of course, Bill won 2 out of the 3, so. So that's why you have to leave here committed and ready to go to work. You have to talk to your friends and neighbors. I know that you've got friends and neighbors who aren't decided yet. I know you've got friends and neighbors and maybe even some family members who aren't decided yet. You might even have a few lean in the wrong direction. So I'm deputizing every one of you to go out and make the case that has to be made. Because Barack and Joe are not asking you to marry them. They're asking you to vote for them and vote for yourselves. If we can pull a big vote out of northeastern Pennsylvania for Barack and Joe, there isn't any way they lose Pennsylvania, and if they win Pennsylvania, there's no way they lose the White House. So let's work the next 23 days and let's elect Barack Obama and the next Vice President of the United States, Joe